Hey, everybody. The question today is to niche or not to niche? And that indeed is the question. Is it better to be selling to everybody, or is it better to narrow down your focus and sell to one select group of people that you can identify with? And I think that there is definitely some wisdom in that second point of view, that if you can narrow down your focus to one group of people, that matches, whose needs match your product. What problem does your product solve? If you've got something that can solve the problems of one select group of people on this world that you can identify with, then I would say it is best to focus on that select group. However, you can definitely niche down too much, and I'll kind of get into that later. But when I first got into sales back in my gosh, what was it? The 1980s, a long, long time ago. I was with a company that sold waterless cookware, and we didn't have the internet back in those days. So we were doing it, by cold calling on the phone, by prospecting people in shopping malls, not in internet chat rooms, but in shopping malls, and sometimes going door to door. But I mean, before we went door to door, we tried to figure out whose door was more interested in the product than other doors. So yeah, it was a tough way to do marketing. But one of our trainers in that opportunity, what would be asked the question, who do I sell to? Who's going to be interested in this waterless cookware thing? And he said, okay, first of all, you walk up to a person, you grab them by the hand, you feel their pulse. Do they have a pulse? That's a person you can market to. Put a mirror in front of their face. Do they make steam on the mirror? And these are pretty much his exact words. If they make steam on a mirror, they're alive, they're a person you can be marketing to. And his attitude was be selling to anybody and everybody that was interested in, I mean, that was just alive, let alone whether or not they were interested in the product. And looking back, I think that was terrible advice. I know why he gave it, because he wanted to get this group of newbie salespeople motivated to go out there and just start asking people, hey, are you interested in waterless cookware? Are you interested in this, that, or the other thing? And, but looking back now in this internet age, I think that is definitely the wrong approach, because we have the ability, without knocking on doors, without cold calling on the telephone, just by going into certain internet groups on Facebook or communities on X, we can get involved with groups of people that all share a common interest. And so I think with that tool, the internet, social media, groups, communities, we definitely need to be taking advantage of these modern day tools. And so I think nowadays it does make sense to figure out who your niche is going to be, who is going to be your community that you are going to sell to, that you are going to be talking to, that you're going to be marketing to, and the community that you can relate to. And I think that is key, because if you can relate to the people that you are trying to sell to, if you can more easily build a rapport with a certain group of people, then you are going to do better as a marketer to that group. So I think niching down to at least a certain extent is advisable in this modern age of internet marketing and social media marketing. However, I think there is a danger of people over niching. And I've seen this on Facebook, have not seen this so much over on X, but definitely on Facebook, where I will see entrepreneurs who will be, reaching out to women. You know, they will have in their bio, I am an entrepreneur helping women become more successful in the field of entrepreneurship. Words like that. And sometimes they'll reach out to me on Facebook wanting to become friends, and I'll check them out, make sure, they're not selling, sketchy solo ads or, traffic sales that are of dubious origin and things like that, or into crypto. And if they're not into those three areas, I will generally approve their friend request and we'll become friends. But what I've noticed happens sometimes with people in this particular niche is that they will then reach out to me wanting me to join their women's group. And I don't know if they've noticed or not, but I do not identify as a woman. I have not been a woman for 63 years. I don't intend to start being one now. So, yeah, I think if you're going to have a niche that is that laser focused, like being an entrepreneur who is wanting to help women become better entrepreneurs, or if you want to become an entrepreneur helping men become better entrepreneurs, focusing on that niche group, or single men, or millennial men, or millennial women, or single women, or married couples wanting to get into entrepreneurship. You should stick to your niche as much as possible. But if that's a difficulty, and that can be a difficulty because there's a plus and a minus to having a laser focused niche in marketing. The plus side is you know who you're talking to and you have a narrow market of people to talk to, and you can relate well with that group. The downside is that you've got a very narrow market to market to. In other words, if you're building a following with a very narrow niche that may not be that well represented, on social media, then you may find yourself, in order to try to build a following, you may find yourself stepping outside of your niche and reaching out to people who don't fit that demographic because you want to grow and you want to grow more rapidly. So one piece of advice that I have heard that I think is superb advice to follow is, in the beginning, yes, get your niche down, but don't over niche. If you're trying to build up a following and you're wanting to grow like a Facebook group or a Facebook community, something like that, in the beginning, leave it wide open. Like, what was it, about a year and a half ago? I started a community, a Facebook group here on Facebook that was talking about Jim Rohn quotes. And that was the topic. Jim Rohn quotes. And I looked on Facebook at that time. There weren't too many Facebook groups dealing with Jim Rohn quotes. So I thought, now that's going to be the perfect thing for the building a group around. And so I did. I just left it wide open. And in that year and a half period, we have grown from one person, namely myself, to two people. Thanks, Janine. Appreciate your help in getting this group off the ground. To now over 8,000 people in that group. And we have really evolved from a group that was just wide open, to anybody and everybody that was interested in Jim Rohn groups, to now we've got what could be created within that group subgroups or Reddits or whatever you want to call it, but subgroups that you could create into spin-off groups. We've got a lot of people in that group who are into Herbalife. We got a few people who are into Home Business Academy, which is my outfit. We got a lot of people in that group who speak Spanish and would probably be interested in a Jim Rohn habla español type of a group. And I'm not that fluent in Spanish, so I don't feel qualified to create it. But I mean, that's one possibility that somebody within that group could probably accomplish and do it with my blessings, actually. We could do like Jim Rohn America, Jim Rohn Herbalife, Jim Rohn this or that. And we could do that using that group as the foundation because I created it a year and a half ago with a wide open focus that we just wanted to attract anyone and everyone that was interested in Jim Rohn. Now, a person that wanted to create, like, say, a men's group for entrepreneurs, there would probably be, I mean, I know there is, as a matter of fact, there probably is a good market for that on Facebook. I don't know if that market might be oversaturated at this time. Possibly it is. But I would say one way to do that, if you wanted to create just a men's group or a women's group for entrepreneurs, is first leave the group open and just reach out, let anybody in who is interested in becoming a better entrepreneur, or better still, maybe create a group for people who want to be entrepreneurs but have no idea what entrepreneurship is, and just have a good introductory group to newbie entrepreneurs, folks that want to get started making money from home but have no clue as to where to even begin. And that might be a good service that you could perform, that you could create. Be looking for new people online, in on Facebook or elsewhere, if your community exists elsewhere in social media land, and just you'll let people know if you're wanting help in getting started in entrepreneurship and you're looking for a safe place to start exploring, possibilities for building your own home-based business without having a lot of people jumping on you and dogpiling you and saying, join my offer, join my offer, join my offer, then you could probably do that very successfully on Facebook. But leave the field wide open. Don't try to dial it down to too narrow of a focus. Then, what I would say, once you've got your group going, once you've got, like, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 people in it, look at the group demographics and see, okay, what's the percentage of men to women, young to old, English speaking to non English speaking to Spanish speaking, and things like that. And then once you got the demographics of the group down, you can very easily then just dial it down and say, like, if I wanted to create a bonsai group on Facebook and I wanted to get it started from just one person, namely myself, to maybe 10,000 people, I would not restrict it to Bonsai Growers of America, although that might be what I want to create in the long term. But in the short term, I would have my niche down to just people who are interested in bonsai, and make it friendly to bonsai beginners. Also make it friendly to people who have experience in the world of bonsai, certainly more experience than I do. I've got a little bit of experience, so let me introduce you to one of my friends over here. This is a little grapefruit tree that I've had for 15 years. And yeah, it's not a perfect bonsai yet. Let me show you a little secret. It looks good right here, right? I've gotten a coffee pot. I had it in a bonsai dish and it was not doing too good, so I put it in a deeper pot to let the roots kind of breathe a little bit. And next spring actually, we're going to work on getting that trained back to a bonsai bowl. But I mean, yeah, I would definitely want to attract people that had more experience than me into the group, people that I could learn from, as well as have people who were beginners, folks that I could maybe advise and teach and share value with. But in the beginning, I would leave it wide open. And then once you got the group grown to like 5,000, 6,000, 10,000 people, however big you think is big enough to suit your purposes, then I would be taking a look at that group and thinking, okay, if I want to create a subgroup, a spin-off group, like Bonsai Growers of America, and I would look at that group, how many people in that group are from the United States? How many people from that group are from North America? Maybe Canada, US, Mexico, that whole range. How many folks are from other places like Asia, Japan, Singapore, China, India, places like that. And then I would think, okay, can I create a spin-off group using that group as the foundation? And then just get into that group and say, hey, everybody, thanks for being here. I thought it would be nice if you want to, network with folks from just the United States. I'm getting this other group going, and you're all welcome to join it if you like, or not join it if you don't want to, and just leave it open ended like that. But that way, you could create one big group in the beginning to get you started. And then, if you want to dial it down, really radically niche it down without destroying the first group, just start inviting people from the first group into your second, more finely focused niche group. So, this is advice that I've heard along the line, and it makes sense to me, definitely makes sense in my own experience, that if you want to get started in marketing, it does definitely help to have a niche. One group of people, not two groups, one group of people that you can relate to and that you can market to and that you can build a rapport with and develop trust with and a sense of community with more easily, and get started with that group. But don't make it too narrow. Depending on what your interests are and what your product is and what your overall goal is, I would say leave it kind of open in the beginning, because in the beginning everybody wants to grow. And it's easier, I think, to grow a group once you get over like 1,000 people than it is to grow a group with only 2 people, 3 people, 7 people. That really is the rough part, I think. Trying to go from 0 to 500 to 1,000, I would say your first 1,000 are definitely the hardest. And then after that, it's like, man, you got synergy. It's like everything just comes together and the group just grows and grows and grows without hardly any work on your part. But in the beginning, we want growth. So, what's the best thing to do? Well, like using an example out of bonsai, you don't grow a seed in a tiny pot. If you want it to grow big, you want to get a big, healthy plant going, you put it in a field. You put it in a wide open field, plenty of water, plenty of sunshine, plenty of fresh air, and just let it grow up wild in that field. And then once you get it growing wild in that field, then you can cultivate it into more of a potted plant, and then take it from there, from potted to more of a bonsai. And I think it's the same way. Growing your following on social media or growing your Facebook group or X community is that keep it wide open in the beginning, let it grow naturally, still focus on a group of people that you can identify with, that you share a common interest with. And then once you get it going, if you want to narrow down your niche, you can take a look at that group that you've got established and see where you want to take it. You want to focus on this subgroup or that subgroup, and then just do what feels natural to you. But operating without a niche, just marketing to everybody and anybody, really is not the best idea. I mean, despite what I heard from my first trainer back in the 1980s, I think it's very true what I've heard, that if you're selling to everybody, you're not selling to anybody. And online, in social media land, in when trying to grow groups and marketing groups, things of that nature, it's best to have more of a focused niche in mind, but not too focused. I would say have a focus like the wide beam on a headlight that you can see more people in. And then once you've got your people coming in, narrow the beam a little bit more until you get your perfect group established. And you may have to grow using this technique, 2 or 3 groups, and have fun while doing it. And I've seen entrepreneurs and marketers do that. I'm in the process of doing that myself. So yeah, it's definitely doable. And I think in the long term, that is the better strategy. So anyway, let me know what your thoughts are. Do you have a Facebook group that you've grown from 0 to 10,000, 20,000, 30,000? What would you suggest? Do you niche down a lot, Or do you just have a general niche that you market to? And I've heard marketers from all stripes, all levels of experience with differing opinions on this matter. What's your opinion? What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Okay, this is Ralph signing out. Thanks for dropping by. Catch you in the next video. Until then, have a great one. Bye-bye.